Calling all Starfighters, I am Jeff, joined as always by Kevin. This time we're covering 1984's The Last Starfighter, directed by Nick Castle, otherwise known as the Shape Michael Myers from the original Halloween. All right, Kevin, I've been a fan of this since I was a kid. Have you ever seen this one, or has it been a long time? Where are you at on the scale for this one?
I don't think I've seen this movie since 1986.
Okay, so back in at least in the early days of it.
Yeah, like really when it first came out on cable. And I remember seeing it probably over at my aunt and uncle's house or over at a friend's maybe. And I don't remember the entire thing, but it very much was a movie that stood out to me.
Good. Yeah, I never actually saw this until I believe I've mentioned this in other Zero.Point reviews, is that I saw this on a VHS tape I got from my Aunt Mary probably around, I want to say 89. And that's when she had recorded multiple movies off of HBO for me to watch. Because my cousin Zach knew I was really into sci-fi, and it was super fun to get this. And this was easily my favorite of the bunch. I did like Night of the Comet and everything else, but like this was the one that was immediate. This is my jam. I love space-based science fiction. It's been my bag since I watched Battlestar Galactica as a kid growing up on ABC reruns. So watching this, it was right up my alley because you had a kid or a teenager you could relate to. He's homebound, he's on Earth, he goes into space, and just there's something about it that's just, it's got a great charm and energy to it. And I can't get enough of it. And so it's easily one of my favorites. I just have the Blu-ray and the 4K here. And I got my original VHS tape up top that I eventually bought because the original VHS tape I got from my aunt was worn out. I eventually bought it. It's the Good Times one. It's not an original one. And then I have, or no, that's Universal. And then I have the original Blu-ray and the original DVD that when they came out. So I've basically been buying every format this thing's ever been on, except like video CD and like Laserdisc. This is like the only two things missing from my lineup for this movie.
Wow. This, I just went and I got the 4K the Arrow put out. And
Yep.
I was a little sad that it didn't come with the Blu-ray version necessarily, because apparently my Blu-ray player does not play 4K discs.
What?
So, yeah, who would have thought, right?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Maybe you could have tried your PlayStation 1. Maybe it would have worked on that. Or you could have used your current PlayStation 5 to play it on. Might not have been ideal as a 4K player, but it does play 4K discs.
It works really well, actually. It was quite stunning.
Yeah.
Usually I do most of my viewing on the computer here, so we could take screenshots and stuff. So I didn't take any screenshots with watching this because it was all on the TV.
Yeah.
But it was also a 75-inch TV, so it was crystal clear and huge and
Boom!
Unlike anything I remember it being when I was a kid. I remember enjoying certain aspects of this that I remember, and then just assuming that I was bored throughout the rest of it.
Oh.
It's just like when you're a kid and you're just kind of like, oh, Superman, all right, it's that Clark Kent guy, I'm gone. Call me when Superman comes back.
Yep. Tell me when the explosions happen, when he's back in space, the Earth stuff.
Yeah, and this movie, I don't know that it actually did that to me as a kid. I don't recall, because I remember the plot of this movie very, very well.
Right. A lot of us do that grew up with it or have seen it even in recent memory. Like, it's a very unique plot. Other people might think, well, wasn't there something else before? No. This, as far as my memory goes, and there may be something from the 70s, there may be something from the 60s that's kind of similar. This thing was unique. Other movies borrowed from this after this movie. So this concept was ripped off after this movie a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And this car that picks Alex up, like every kid in our age group dreamed of that car coming to pick us up after we kicked ass on a game.
It was
Like-
either that or the DeLorean from Back to the Future not long after this movie. Because that was, 85 for Back to the Future? Yeah.
Yeah. Which was a cool design. This is a cooler car, albeit not a cool as design.
Well, it doesn't even... It has more of the futuristic look than as a futuristic muscle car. Looks like more of like a sedan almost.
Yeah, like it's a pretty normal looking car. Like one more time looking at it there, it's a sedan. It almost looks like a damn station wagon even.
Yeah, with double gull-wing doors almost.
Double gull-wing.
Hey, I ain't knocking. I like cars like that. My dad has a kit car. It's a Cimbria. And I love that damn thing when the doors come open. It looks gorgeous. So I'm a fan of gull-wing doors, but like the functionality on those has never really always been that great. Gaskets wear out, things happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think at least on like Ferraris and like Lamborghinis, those kind of cars, I think they had it figured out. But on like every other car, like even Mercedes, they had problems back in the 80s with those doors.
I know my 86 Mustang kind of sucked, but it wasn't those kind of doors. It just naturally sucked.
The old 80s Mustangs. Yep.
It was my Bluesmobile.
Is it Blues Brothers or...
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
that was
okay.
The license plate too. Blues 1.
I never knew this, so that was a guess for me. So that's a fun story. And everybody, while you're watching this video, if you feel like you're experiencing some video issues with us, Kevin is broadcasting from another galaxy. He's joined the Star League, so we might have some brief intermission issues here. But stick with us. It's still going to be a good video.
Hopefully everyone is still able to hear me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not worth looking at much anyway, unless I'm making faces. So,
wait, what's that? Huh? No, I'm kidding.
Ooh. As Kinnison would say, Pee-wee did what?
Lewis, quit shooting your dart gun at everybody.
That little bastard. So I love
Lewis. Growing up, I don't know. I love all the characters in this movie. Even though Will Wheaton never says a freaking word, he's got a credit in this movie too as an extra. It's funny. He had scenes that were cut. I think that's why. But
oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, when you see like 3 kids running in the background at the beginning of the movie, Will Wheaton's one of them. And if I remember right, because I was on a previous podcast before and we had Corin Nemec on, and when because he's Parker Lewis Can't Lose, he was also in Stargate SG-1 season 6, and he basically said like there might have been some cut scenes with Will Wheaton, but he was still credited because he did have actual scenes.
Oh, that's cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong, people. You can put a comment below. It's okay. But from my memory, that's what Corin had mentioned.
And he can't lose, so he's probably right. So.
Corin, love you, buddy. If we talk about Parker Lewis Can't Lose, I'm going to be calling you.
We should, damn it.
Because we can't win.
I was looking for 2 other shows today that like got horribly canceled by Fox, and like
just 2
both times. Like just 2. One was called Dads with Seth Green, and the other one was called Surviving Jack with Chris Maloney, and they were both hysterical.
I don't even remember those at all.
Yeah, they were both like 6-episode shows on Fox. It's like, they were funny.
All right. Well, we'll put it on the docket, see what we can do.
Pirate friends, help us out.
Well, and if you're wondering what the hell we're even talking about, if you're new here, we're talking about our podcast. So I'll throw a little ticker up below so you can check that out.
But the podcast,
Kevin, yeah, don't you know we have another thing we do on this
things? We talk about TV shows, canceled TV shows even.
And it looks like your transmission's clearing up the more we speak. So right on. Or somebody stop watching
Again?
YouTube videos while we're recording.
They're all supposed to be asleep right now, but who the hell knows? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I turned off Spotify. Like that.
Yeah.
That might help. I don't know. Sorry.
But, you know, if it's somebody who's got an antenna that's down, somebody's got to stay behind and help fix that. So if somebody's breaking the internet in your house, we need to call our own, you know, Alex.
What was his last name? Rogan?
Yeah, Rogan.
That's right. And
Gotta
then
call Alex.
I felt bad for him. Like, he was most certainly supposed to be like an everyman, but he was doing the job of everyman. Like, this poor kid was getting pulled in 17 different directions.
Well, he had that kind of mentality of, yes, there's things I want to do, but somebody's asking for my help or somebody needs me. And it's like going out of your way to make everybody else happy before you make yourself happy. So that's kind of an interesting character dynamic. And I've known people who have been in that position. I was in it many years ago before I got a little bit more mature and wiser about, no, me too. I get to choose what I want to do. And then you get married. But don't 0 Point any further, Jeff, on that. But I'm making a joke. But like, he will go out of his way to do projects that anybody else needs, and he's trying to escape the trailer park. He's trying to go to college and do something more with his life because he feels like there's more to do. And then when he's finally presented with doing something more with his life, he wants to go cry to the fucking trailer park. And it's like, bro, you were just screaming about you want something more, except like maybe facing certain death in an intergalactic war you had no part of.
You didn't say you weren't down for that. You said you wanted just anything. But of course,
you're not down with that. We got 3 words for you. The Last Starfighter.
Oh, I was going to say Gurgur Snarton Black. Whatever language they were speaking.
Too, or Klatu Verada Necktie.
Necktie. Mm. No, but Alex's main getaway is this awesome arcade game that was
so badass, dude.
Yeah, it was basically Star Wars, for lack of a better term. At least that's what it looked like, really. Just basically shooting ships in a little reticule in front of you. And it was a pretty fun-looking game. I would have played the hell out of it. I played the hell out of Star Wars.
Well, they did make a computer version of that game. I've never gotten around to remembering to do that. So later or shortly after this episode, I might go look to see if I can go grab that, do a little playthrough, if I can figure out a video capture thing. We've not gotten into the video game streaming or anything like that, but maybe we'll take a look into exploring that as a fun little video for our content channel here.
We do tricks. We turn tricks for our people. For our
well,
viewers.
You do. I do not.
It's true. Oh, so but
that video game cabinet is fucking awesome. And on my trip back, when we're done, I'm going on a little vacation with my wife. On our way back, we're gonna be swinging by the location of that store.
Oh, interesting.
So stay tuned for more information on that, including maybe a little video. We'll see. But I'm super excited. Amy was totally on board with stopping by there on our way home. That's going to be basically our last day before we get home. So,
oh wow, that'll be cool then.
Hell yeah,
that'll be very groovy. The cabinet though, outside of being gorgeous, is bulky as hell.
Yeah, it almost looks like that Terminator 2 arcade cabinet. It's almost like it's missing like the machine guns on it, or the Uzis, or any of that.
Kinda, yeah, or even Afterburner without the overhead carriage.
Like, I didn't think of that.
Huge.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Big wide sucker.
I remember that now that you bring that up.
Yeah, shit. That's what it's horrible that I remember. That's what John Connor's playing in Terminator 2 when the T-1000 comes after him at the mall.
Oh, that's right.
I'm ashamed to say that I know that, but I do.
No, don't be ashamed. That's okay.
Can't remember my kid's birthday, but I remember that shit.
Hey, I'll give you extra points on that one. Not 0 points. You get extra points.
I get 0 points.
You get 3 points for that one.
Speaking of 3 points, I thought when he was having this moment of playing the game and he's getting close to the record and like everyone starts going nuts, my memory was he lost and everyone kind of like went away, dispersed, like, oh, whatever. But no, they pretty much got on the good foot quick and he won fast and everybody was there watching and losing their shit.
Well, that's what was really cool about this movie is, the first time you see him play, he doesn't do really all that great, and I don't know if this was the second or third time. I should have been paying a little more attention for how many times he was playing this game, but this was the second or third. And as he was ranking up the score, people are passing word around the park like, Alex is doing this. And the whole big point about why is this stupid arcade out in the middle of podunk nowhere at a trailer park, we find out later was intended to go to Las Vegas. And it was never supposed to end up there. And so that's actually a very cool tidbit that whoever was scripting, they had some detail work going on. I really appreciated that.
Yes, like the detail to it, and yeah. But before I 0 point that, when they're running up 2 flights of stairs, this poor sweet woman that plays Granny, how many? She's got to use both hands to run up these stairs, and all I could think of is the director going, "Cut, cut." Okay, now remember, you're excited. You want to get up those stairs as fast as you can. Go.
It's either that or we got to do a motorized chair a la Gremlins, and we're going to launch you right over the top of the restaurant. So, lady, run.
Woo! That having
3
been
points. Field goal is good. Woo!
But yeah, so I mean, Alex does indeed break the record here, and everyone goes fucking batshit crazy, and his girlfriend gets all like emotionally charged for him, and that's where you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's right, this is a movie. Video game nerds are gonna get laid that night.
Oh yeah. But I thought it was really cool that everybody was that invested. Like, it was like the main big attraction for all of them there. Like, there not much clearly happened in that park, and so they all kind of like gravitated towards, hey, something big is happening here. So they all kind of like latched onto it, and it seemed like they had a really good community there. Like, they all took care of each other. And from my memories growing up, and I never really lived in a trailer park, but I knew a lot of my friends did, and I never got the sense from them that it was like some community. It's like their parents and everybody was just like, can't wait to get the fuck out of this.
Many trailer parks are like that, yes. Now up here, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of it in the more rural areas, there are mobile homes abound, and there are mobile home parks. Then there are trailer parks. Those are the ones in town. And those are the ones that, yes, you're right. It's cops are there all the time for meth busts, violence, fires from drug cooking all the time. Yeah, this is and I even put a note here. This is the nicest trailer park that I have ever seen in real life or a movie. Like, everyone's super happy. The best thing I could relate this to or compare this to, if you haven't seen it or have not seen this, is Perfection and Tremors. Like, it very much reminds me of Perfection, where everybody knows everybody.
Tight-knit community.
Yeah, and everybody.
So you get those values from everybody while you're at it.
Yeah, he does, and I think that's why Alex stays and has to do all the shit that he does.
Right. And so does Mags, because she largely chooses to stay there. She doesn't want to go anywhere else. She wants to just stay there and take care of her mom, and or was it her granny or was it her mom? I'm trying
Both.
to remember. Yeah.
Both.
So she's trying to take care of everybody, and she feels like she needs to stay until the very end of the movie when she's presented, hey, I either go with him off on this great adventure or I stay here and, whatever. You feel like you're stuck in a rut, can't ever escape. And the whole point of that is the whole metaphor of the whole movie is, do you want to just stay in a groove, like stay in your lane, or do you want to go off on a big adventure? Like, it's your choice what you do with your life. And it's a great concept, and it gives its weight to the movie, and it really hammers home a great theme when you start to dig into what this movie's really about. And they don't make movies like this anymore. If they tried to do this movie today, I see a lot of fucking problems. Now you gotta, if you're gonna reboot this, and I was gonna ask you later anyway, what do you think is the future of this movie, and if it gets rebooted or sequel or whatever? There's long been rumors about movie sequels. There's long been rumors about being rebooted. There's rumors about TV show movie. If you did it without the original creative staff, I foresee many problems. You gotta bring back, or at least include them. You gotta at least include them. But it's going to be really hard to nail the spirit of this, because it's got values and mentality of a much different era. Unlike Night of the Comet, by comparison, this is one I could see some issues trying to adapt if you don't have the knowledge from the previous creators that launched this movie to begin with.
Yeah, because this is kind of like RoboCop in that sense. It's not about Alex necessarily. It's way bigger than that. And if you try to focus on that person playing a video game and then going on an adventure, that's not exactly the story. Like,
right.
Those are plot details, and we've seen that get mimicked so many times. But it's not the story. And so if you don't focus on everything that this movie encompasses, you're not going to be able to get that lightning in a bottle twice. And I don't think you can get it twice, because without Professor Hill, like, half of the entertainment of this movie is gone.
That's my man, Centauri.
No wonder I liked this fucking movie so much as a kid. Like, I'm watching it as an adult going, duh, Professor Hill.
Well, and you also see it with older eyes, more mature eyes. You're picking up on jokes as a kid that just went right over your head, and it's like, ooh, something's exploding. Hey, we're in space. Hey, special effects. As an adult, you're like, wow, the subtext to this is really good, and the character dynamics are. Hey, wait a minute, there's an actual movie here? What the fuck?
It looks like he really took his head off. Yeah.
It looks like he really took his eyes out.
That was cool, though.
That scared the shit out of me the first time I saw that as a kid. Well, what actually scared me was Beta. It wasn't Centauri taking his eyes out. I remember that being a little creepy, but I remember the first time you see Beta taking the blanket off just to see the silicon and the face pulsating and the freaky eyes. I remember going, oh my God. I do remember that.
I remember the eyes. I very vividly remember
the eye thing. Is a lot of people remember the eye thing when Centauri takes the eyes out the first time.
And I was like, oh shit. And then when he gets killed, like, I completely forgot the ending. And then so that made me super happy. Like, okay.
Well, it's one of those, it's like, as a kid, and even back then, you can look at it like him dying actually was kind of a powerful moment in the movie, when it's like, no, I gotta go into space. I gotta do something here, or the Zers and the Empire are gonna come after my planet now too. And then you later see the Beta taking out a bunch of like evildoers trying to take out Alex. The last Starfighter is dead.
Dude, where is I have that bounty hunter here somewhere.
Goddamn, sir, you betraying little bitch.
Here he is. So yeah, this is what ends up happening to him. And he was there. They find them by smelling them. Like they stink really bad.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, well, sure. But Centauri's the one that ends up having to kill him, and he end up taking a gut shot.
Yep. Not a nut shot, a gut shot.
Yeah, he gets it in the liver, y'all.
Well, he won't be drinking anymore after this movie. But hey, he could still be doing some gambling.
It regenerated. Oh my God. His character is so fantastic. It's
Centauri is wonderful. As an adult,
space music, man.
Yep.
Yeah, just this wonderful con artist that wants to do something good if it's profitable. And he's so fun. And Alex, excuse me, Alex giving him the notion that what he did was going to pay off. Like his idea for Starfighter was going to be really lucrative. And so then he dies thinking that he's going to strike it rich. That was really sweet, actually. Like that was well written and even better performed.
Yeah, fantastic. Almost all the characters are fantastic. Bit characters do well. Like we talked about Lewis a little bit earlier. Alex's mom is well defined. You got Mags. God, I should just remember it. Like it's Mags, right?
Yeah.
And then you got Griggs, Dan O'Hurley, otherwise known as the old man from RoboCop. In this, I mean, almost all the characters are terrific. Even Zur, the pompous ass who betrays his father for his noble septa.
And I love the actual warlords that are like, scepter doesn't mean shit. Like,
yeah, they're just looking at him like, dude, you're playing with toys. We're playing with a real armada here.
Yeah, and he's the last person to figure out that he's not really in charge. They're just letting him think that he's in charge until they get it through the frontier.
Right. Which I think is really funny because it's like they keep talking about like the emperor who like authorized Zur to be the commander of this armada. And they're all like, Emperor really like approved this shit? What the fuck? Who's this guy trying to get into this job? And they couldn't wait to deal with his ass. And the second he was slipping or misconstrued something, they're like, that's enough of this shit. Get him out of here. And then he promptly escapes. And so if we had seen a sequel, maybe we see Zur come back. Maybe we get more about the Empire that this armada was for, and more of the Battlestar Galactica ripoff voices for the underlings. I mean, could have gotten a little bit more with another sequel, but I do not feel like they left a lot terribly open without it being on purpose. I think they left that open to be able to dip into should they have gotten another movie.
It's saddening that they didn't. And that leads me into a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Why wasn't this movie considered cheesy? By all accounts and purposes, this is just another cheesy 80s movie. It's about video games and space travel and dogfights, but it's not cheesy. It's not campy. It's quite enjoyable. It's thrilling, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Well, it takes itself seriously. And that's kind of important. And it doesn't get like slapsticky. It doesn't really do comedy that's not just casual, normal comedy amongst friends and family. Yeah. And, Zur getting taken prisoner by the armada. Everybody's rooting for that shit. The guy is total dick during the whole fucking movie. He's like, total dude with daddy issues. and he can't stand that he's not in charge, and he just can't wait to have his own little power trip going on. And you got Alex. I mean, everybody takes this movie seriously, especially the actors, the cast, and the crew. It shows them what they made. The fact that they all took it so seriously and they were that invested in this movie is something you'll never see in like a modern version of this. Most modern movies, like, okay, Disney Star Wars, I'm gonna say it. They need to look at this fucking movie at how to make a goddamn Star Wars movie. Because the original Star Wars had this mentality. The prequels, a little different, but it was for a different generation. This newer shit, they're completely trying to rip off the original Star Wars while missing the point completely. You got to look at something like this to understand, you know, do you give a shit about the story you're telling? Do you give a shit about the direction you're going in? Do you want to be cheesy? Do you want to tell a story? Do you want to have a theme? Do you want to have a direction? It's like, it's not rocket science until you're building a fucking rocket. This is the rocket right here, and it didn't need rocket science. You needed a story that people cared about, characters people cared about, and yes, you look at the CGI today, cheesy as shit. But back then, this was high level for 84. If you gotta watch the making of on this shit movie, because honestly, the amount of money, time put into this special effects was most of the budget of this movie. It came in around 15 million, and a lot of that money was in the special effects, and it shows.
It does show, and I wasn't sure what to expect watching it on 4K, because we talk about it all the time. When you see things like this on VHS, okay, yeah, that looks great. When you see it in 4K, you're like, I could see this wire, I could see that, and it's moving this way.
I could see those macro blocking going on around the ships. I see where they cut it out and then post it on the film. I still have like old Star Trek The Next Generation DVDs. I put one of those on. I see the blocks around the ship where it was imposed over the film. But you don't see that in this 4K.
No, you don't. It really is quite beautiful. It is. They did a really good job with it. It's not fuzzy and grainy, and the special effects don't look cheesy. They don't look horrible blue screen. No,
and I'll say this, if you were to do a new modern movie, I think it would look fucking killer as far as like the special effects. I think if you went the route of, say, like Starship Troopers with special effects, or even Star Wars, where they used actual models against things, it could look super badass. I think it would look really good.
This was very close to looking like what VR could have looked like at the time, or started to look like later on. Yeah. So it was very clean, very fluid. And just, God, you couldn't not look at it. The back of that damn car is fascinating. It really was just a fascinating thing to look at.
Right. And it also carries over to the Gunstar 1, the main fighting ships for the fleet, for the Star League, which is right behind Kevin. And it's like, that is so stunning. Ever since then, that is my idea of like the perfect ship. And it carries over into other video games. You could look at video games like Ikaruga. You could look at any overhead shooters that have a futuristic design. They all tend to borrow just a little something from this. And it's not a rip-off, it's a slight homage. They all do their own little thing, but there always seems to be something that feels familiar about it. And a little bit of that goes to the last Starfighter, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's accurate. I'm just saying that's how I look at it.
I think so. They took a little bit of Star Wars in the X-Wing, and they made it a little bit more practical for what this movie is and what this universe is.
Oh yeah.
And it pops. It really pops. And they even explain how the ship works. Like you have not two pilots, you've got a pilot and a gunner, and the pilot isn't called a pilot, it's the navigator.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got to have like the craftiest mind that you could think of, and have like crazy pilot skills at the same time.
Exactly. And at first you're like, oh God, we're going video game into a real life situation. Oh God, here we go again with like cliched tropes of things of, well, how is Alex going to take to actually doing this for real? And they do it relatively smart. At first, he's a little, I don't know what the hell's going on. Then he's like, hey, wait a minute, this is exactly like the video game. And it starts to click for him. And it really does replicate the motions of the arcade, except for the chair moving around and make sure you're staring straight ahead. But the staring straight ahead and then shooting things, it applied to the physics of this movie within its own universe. So it maintained its own continuity. And that's a really nice trick.
It did. And the ships, the Armada itself, looked exactly the way that they did in the game, all the way to the battle command ship. Do I have? Oh, okay, yeah, here it is. Like you see where he's let them all pass over, and he's going to come up and attack from behind. So that sounds really kind of weird and lame, but that gives a rational answer to why does this play like Space Invaders, but it works.
Yeah,
because he was able to do that, and that it works through strategy, it works through logic, like everything works. None of it was cheesy.
yeah, it definitely has that. You mentioned Space Invaders, and it's like, oh yeah, it does kind of have that vibe where it's like the overhead of like the minions or the easy ships, and then the next row, and then the main ship above it. And you mentioned that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is right. That is kind of how it looked when they were watching underneath the little cave in the moon, and they're just floating down like an overhead screen. I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty cool. I never noticed that before.
Yeah, and as an adult, I was sitting there with this big old smile, like I was 6 again. Like, oh, that is so cool. And I felt like a giant dork watching it because I was having so much fun, but at the same time, like, why haven't I been watching this for the last 30 years? Come on,
Yeah.
I suck.
Well, and speaking of like fun, like it builds and builds and builds up to the red button and Death Blossom, which is almost like the name of a metal album or a heavy metal band. It's like it's just craving for like some badass thing to happen, and when it happens, it's like somebody hit the special attack in a overhead shooter.
Yeah, and again, it makes sense. It works for the game, it works for the story, and it works for the movie.
Exactly. It's
Something
not
most video
rocket
game,
science.
yeah, something all video game movies have failed to do thus far. Like just about all of them have failed that. This sticks to the game that didn't even have a whole lot of like plot to it necessarily. Like the story was all narrated by Centauri.
Yeah. Who you couldn't ask for a better herald of this movie.
Oh my god, he really did make this flick for me, and I'm
Him
sure that
and
was the
Greg
case.
for me are what really gelled for me.
Mhm. I think so. Greg is what I remember the most from this movie, and
Yes.
I always thought Greg. I remembered him from Enemy Mine, but apparently that was not the case. Greg and his smile and his laugh is oh, like weird laugh always stuck into my head.
Oh yeah.
And I was kind of like just giggling when I saw it, and I was starting to get goosebumps. And then it was like, oh my god, that's the fucking old man. That's Dan O'Hurley. I'm like, that's
Yep.
cool. This was what, 2 years before RoboCop, or 3 for filming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and golly, I wouldn't have thought that he would have been in all that makeup and doing a sci-fi flick like this. But it wasn't cheesy. He didn't phone it in, and he made the character of Greg touching, very touching.
Yeah, well, that's what you do when you cast characters and actors into characters that they can invest and sink their teeth into something. Like none of them looked at the script and they're like, Oh, this is a paycheck movie. All right. I'll put in my 20 minutes here and then I'll just coast the rest of the way. No, every single one of them really jumped into their character roles and it shows. All of
I
them.
think so.
I just wish, Catherine Mary Stewart had a little bit more going on, but I know they gave her more with Beta because in test screenings, people liked Beta so much that they went back and they added more scenes for Beta into the movie after the fact.
Yeah, Beta was a lot of fun. And I remember Beta taking his head off as a kid. And I remember him
Yes.
threatening to tell mom, but I didn't remember he was threatening to tell mom about the Playboys.
Well, both Alexes did when they were confronting each other about like what was really going on and what are you doing here? No, what are you doing here? Hey, who are you? No, I met you in the car. And then go to bed, Alex, or I'm going to tell mom about the Playboys. And then he leaves and then he dips under and he's like, what happened here? Go to bed or Lewis, or I'm going to tell mom about your Playboys.
I
He's
mean
just like,
it.
what the fuck is going on? Okay, I'm going to bed.
The poor little brother's having a goddamn aneurysm by the end of the flick, like not understanding what is happening.
And then when he does realize what's going on, what's really fun is to watch him grab the bench seating and bringing it up to the arcade, and then he stands at the arcade like, I'm gonna be next. That sequel,
Yeah.
you're gonna bump my pay, jackass. You're gonna pay me more because I'm gonna be the next Alex going in the next movie.
And that was a good way to end the movie. It really was.
It's like I'm ready for an adventure too. And it's like, how better can you end this movie of everybody's off on an exciting new adventure that you were rooting for, and even the younger brother is like, I'm ready too.
Yeah. And like you said, a sequel could have been about Lewis.
Yeah, it easily could.
It still can. Gosh, the world is still so open for this. I wish they would revisit it. I don't understand the lack of respect for this movie.
I don't either. And I've seen like concept art through the years. Like there's a wonderful Facebook page. Everybody should, if you're on Facebook, go look for The Last Starfighter. There's a great group and a great page. And there's some people on there that have worked on this movie and they've included some art and things that they've done for possible projects that have been through the years. Some of the freaking concept art is like The Last Starfighters instead of just one. It's a whole fleet going into battle, just a space dock, things like that. It looks so cool. It's like there's people ready, willing, and able to get on this. Why it hasn't happened, who knows? If it's Universal who owns the rights, if they want to go the Battlestar Galactica remake route, please don't. Not everything has to be serious, dark, and drama. Keep this the same way. We've already had this discussion earlier. We don't need to keep going in a circle, but like there is an interest there. There's a great fan base still out there. Is this the definition of a cult classic? You bet your sweet ass it is, because everybody who is a fan of this movie has excitement for it on the same level as the people that made it. And what does that tell you?
Agreed. And this plot, whenever someone pays an homage to it in another movie or show,
And they do.
instantly makes people smile when they see it, like, oh, they're doing a Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
Clerks, when they did that on Clerks with Pharaoh. That was funny as shit. Go sexy Randall, the Pharaoh wizard. It was so cute. It was so good. And it's because of this movie and the fond memories that it brings for people. And
Right.
what I loved so much about it is, yes, I did have memories that were just flooding back as I watched it, but it wasn't like watching things that you look back on with nostalgia goggles going, oh, that shit was thick. Things like Wizards of the Lost Kingdom or
Oh, yeah.
The Lost Boys. Things that are classics. Deathstalker, classics.
Kind of classic on that one. The only thing classic about that one is all the nudity. But that was a Corman flick, so what do you expect?
I like Corman. Anyway.
Who doesn't? Dude, Death Race.
It's true. Communists don't, because he didn't like them.
Hell no. And now we've been marked by YouTube. You are welcome.
Who was If they were to remake this today, who could replace Robert Preston? Because that man had a gift of gab that no one else can really do.
If you're gonna do that same character, do somebody else with a different name. It's just the same species, and just go from that.
Likely as such, yeah. Because I mean, his
and
character was so very specifically supposed to be Harold Hill, and it worked. Like, it made you smile because everything he did as a con man was working towards recruiting Alex, and it was so good because he did mean it. If there were things that were ad-libbed in this, it was brilliantly done by him.
Right.
Like, I don't think they could have directed him on how to be him. Kind of like, how do you tell Bruce Willis how to make a Die Hard movie?
Bruce Willis tells you how to make a Die Hard movie.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, so that's just how that was, and it worked out really good. I don't know if that lightning in the bottle could be captured again.
No, not at least without bringing back, as many of the original team as you possibly could. Bring back Lance, bring back Catherine Mary Stewart. You can do homages to Greg, Centauri, everybody else that's no longer with us. Hell, you could make a statue of Centauri. It would be super badass in the middle of like an academy hall or something. And you can spend like a minute or two just talking about how important he was to defeating the Armada that turned the tide of the war. And, that's what brought us all back. And you can obviously pay homage to a lot of great characters like that. So there's definitely room for that to happen. I would be still very excited to see it happen. I just hope it would, carry forward a lot of what this movie presented and did.
And golly,
and it's got to keep the theme, because the theme of this freaking movie is freaking banger. Love it. I have no musical talent in my body. If somebody could do a heavy metal version of this theme, it would be so killer.
I will have to look that up. That sounds like something that probably does exist, simply because it sounds redonkulous.
Or 80s rock synth version.
Ooh, that'd be fun too.
Just saying.
Oh, golly. But I love how there was one brief moment where basically it's training on the job. Alex has to shoot a live target, basically.
Yeah, his first one.
Yeah, and he gets this like buck fever, basically, where he can't pull the trigger because he knows he's gonna kill something.
Yeah.
And that doesn't last for very long.
No. Well, it goes to that whole fear he had about, like, what am I doing here? I shouldn't be doing this, yada, yada, yada. And then he finally gets into the thick of things, and it's like, we got our own Luke Skywalker on our hands here.
Yeah.
But he's not feeling the Force. He just had to get over that hump of his own personal fear to face it all. And he succeeded, and yeah, motherfucker.
I think that's something extremely common for most soldiers.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was pretty gung ho for it once he shot that guy, and it was funny.
Bloodthirsty. Alex Rogan. That's going to be his nickname.
Bloodthirsty. Death Bloodthirsty.
We just call him Death Blossom. Alex Rogan returns. Last Starfighter 2. Zer's Revenge.
The pew pew device. Pew 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 pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
which did not borrow any sound effects from War of the Worlds this time, and I bet that worked out in their favor as well.
Yeah.
Because again, this, like you said, this movie was not self-aware. It did take itself seriously. It wasn't being flippant or loose or trying to fill tropes. They were trying to make a good story. I don't know what convinced what who said what to convince a studio to make a movie like this and be able to make it as well as they did, but then only to have like history forget about it just about.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I mean, I know it did good in the box office. I think it was I think I have it on the other tab in here. It's around 29 million made on a budget of 15. So it made, well, for the 80s, that's making money. Today, if you made something for $15 million, you'd almost have to make over 30 to at least break even. But back in the 80s, like that's a lot of money to invest in a property that's an original IP. Like, but yeah, it made about 29 million in the box office, and then over the years with home video sales, like this is a movie that just keeps on bringing the money in. Why would they even make a 4K at this point if the Blu-ray didn't succeed? I have this original Blu-ray from Arrow, and then I got the 4K. Which
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. I'll do my little thing later as we end.
I was going to say I really am surprised, if not a little ashamed of myself, for never having picked the DVD up when it first came out. It was available. It was one of those things where I saw it at Sam Goody all the time, and I just never picked it up. But
one of those rare times I picked that up the second it came out. So my DVD is original. What's funny though is I waited so long to get the original Blu-ray release. I got it in a Walmart bin for like $4.99, and it's been that price until they came out with the Arrow Blu-ray, which blows that out of the fucking water. But like,
I bet
that $5.90 or that $5 Blu-ray up there was pretty good, but I'd still go back to the DVD. But it had all the extras that was on the DVD, so it was like, no, this is a good deal. I actually could have made that a combo pack if I wanted to. But when they came out with this Arrow release, and then they got the poster inside and everything, it's incredible. Like, there's a booklet, there's the movie poster with the custom art that they did, and then the inside has reversible cover art. I actually have it for like this poster. You'll see that on our thumbnail too, largely. But and I got, my copy of the 4K, and then as I was just talking about, I might actually happen to have a second copy of this for a giveaway. So when we wrap up and we say our goodbyes, I will tell you what you need to do to get in on that.
I may have some Night of the Comet swag too that was left over from ordering the 4K. I think I got the poster left over.
Right on. Yeah, because any keen-eyed viewers looking at my copy of the 4K, notice it's still sealed. That's my copy. That's not opened. That's going to be your copy right there, which I should probably now set down and so it doesn't fall down.
Oh, but golly, the 4K was so pretty. Like looking
the
at
audio is fantastic going on surround sound with that bastard too. So
yeah, like I'm a little sorry I didn't have the 3D headphones on, but it was still cool. Even watching it with my kid home, like, and my wife, because you know how, like I've said, Brandy likes to watch the tablet and it's really loud. She was actually enjoying listening to this movie. Like, that very rarely happens with the two of us, that we like the same type of thing.
Right.
And especially for her to like something that was like predates 1986.
Yeah. I didn't watch this with Amy, but this is one of those kind of in-between movies. Amy might like this one. I think she's seen it before with me. Might have been a few years now, but the fact she's willing to swing by the grocery store on the way back on our vacation. And she's like, yeah, we could do that. That's totally fine. Because she's going to want to check out the grocery store. She's going to buy something in there. So it's going to be totally cool. And I'm like, I got my geeky hot wife. It's pretty cool. It works out. Now, if there's any sort of like Nintendo or Zelda thing going on, we'd be swinging by that too.
Yeah. We used to work for them here. They had there was a call center here that when the Wii first came out, they had the people like throwing the remotes left and right and destroying their furniture.
Oh, the nunchucks.
So they had to basically issue out wrist straps to people. And so like they just hired 20 kids in the area here in Roseburg to answer calls for the Wii and send out replacements. And it's like, shit. And it sucked because nobody called in happy. Nobody.
Oh no.
People throwing it at their TV, their windows.
Yeah, don't work in a call center for an insurance company of life insurance, because that'll put hair on your chest real quick and make you want to drink.
Yes, because
your life insurance policy claim is being denied due to certain exclusions in the policy. I was that guy answering that phone call when they called in to ask what the hell is wrong with my claim. Why did you deny me?
Oh.
Yeah. Not good.
Hashtag awkward, man.
Hated that job.
We did insurance and we'd get elderly people calling in like socially wanting to talk about their insurance because they had nobody else to talk to or nothing else to talk about throughout the day.
Yeah.
That got boring where you're kind of like, I was on IMDb looking up trivia all day about movies, like things that I hadn't seen before, like looking up spoilers, like
pretty much
anything I could do to like take my brain away from the phone calls, but not kill myself.
Well, just join the Star League, find your nearest arcade cabinet for the last Starfighter and start blowing shit up, break that top score, and get the hell out of Dodge.
Oh, yeah. Look at these guys. They all look like they're going to be good kids.
Especially with them ball caps they were all wearing.
Kinda. But as I'm sitting there looking at them, I was giggling as shit. Like, little Johnny, Willie, Teddy, and Fred, and they're all going to be in uniform. This movie was fantastic. I loved the alien effects. They used prosthetic pieces for characters that were only in the movie for 3 minutes at best, like 5
as
minutes.
much as possible. I give them props for doing that, and I can understand some people saying like, well, they could have done more. No, you don't understand. A lot of the budget was getting eaten up by the special effects. They probably wanted to have like 60 different species in there, but they only had enough budget to do like 10.
Well, like 2 of the guys I think are just wearing like canvases or socks over their head. Let's see.
Are they getting ready for a special heist or something?
Yeah, look on the right. Like there's 3 or 4 guys on the right there that are just wearing socks on their head or nylons.
Oh, and I love how like Alex is just sitting there like with his flannel shirt on, just being like, what the shit is this stuff? I'm clearly I took a drug and I'm still on Earth somewhere. I just might be in a different state.
Might be in a dumpster, might be in a bathtub filled with ice and no kidneys.
If that's a lesson to never drink or do drugs again, let that be your lesson.
Please don't let me wake up with HPV. Oh shit! This movie though, like
it's so much fun, dude.
I still love the fairy tale of it. Is really what this is. It's kind of a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Like if the military had a fairy tale, it would be this movie.
To a point, yeah.
It's a recruitment video.
God, like only other movie I think you could relate to this is like War Games, but that's a completely different kind of animal for a movie.
Kind of, yeah. Like
completely different setup and no aliens, no space anything like that. It's mostly just computer programming, cracking into a Pentagon computer and simulating, let's play a game and starting war games.
Let's play a game.
Shall we play a game? I actually had the PC version of that game. That was fun.
Parcheesi, Domino's, Twister. Let's play Twister.
Minesweeper.
Minesweeper.
That's my jam, yo.
Now, the ending where they come back for Maggie.
Yep.
And the entire trailer park shows up again, freaking the hell out, but doing relatively okay, talking to a lizard man.
Yep.
And Maggie doesn't want to go. And you're just kind of like, really? Like, I had a girlfriend like that when I first moved up here that was wanting to move up with me and then didn't, then did, then didn't, then did. And it's like, no, well, then you could stay. No, I really want to go. No, you really don't. So you could stay. I got to go. And that didn't work out that way here. Like, she said no. And then her grandmother basically tells her that, like, what are you saying no for? Like, what else are you going to be doing? Do you just want to, like, get pregnant here? Like, run the next meth lab in the park and whatever else? Like, go.
She's going to find Jesse Pinkman in the park somewhere. No, clearly she was definitely struggling with that decision the second she faced it. It's like, all of a sudden, you're telling me, go with you and go on this new adventure, or I stay here with what I know and what is real to me, like right this minute. And the first thing she thought of was, I got to take care of my family. I got to be here. But then she goes over to Granny and she's like, if you don't go, you're going to regret it. A person with wisdom gives sound sage advice. They don't get preachy. Hollywood, look at this movie, you morons.
Granny's been living here for 70 fucking years.
And she's going to live here for the next 7. So listen to her. Just go. Just as long as you write or email or whatever it is you do out there. She just said, as long as you like contact me back. And who's to say, like, they go off, they come back in a few months just to kind of check on people, depending on how like the war, the rebuilding is going on. They'd be coming back. It's not like they wouldn't. The question it would be is, how does Earth respond to this? Because don't tell me the feds ain't paying attention to the bunch of alien shit happening in a small little town like this.
Yeah, right. Where they could easily quarantine everybody and put a tent over it.
So this is how the X-Files starts. Ooh, Starfighter is the prequel to
the X-Files.
That would be super funny, but that is so not happening.
No. I had a hard time watching X-Files last week. Master Pancake was riffing the episode with Peter Boyle.
Oh, okay.
Where he was the psychic life insurance salesman.
I remember that one.
A fantastic episode.
Yeah, it's a good one.
God damn, was it funny to listen to the commentary, though.
Oh, no.
It was all really good stuff. Like, it was no punching down at the movie. Nothing like that. It was just really good commentary along with it. No, because John, like, he'd even said that's like his favorite episode ever. And I was like, really? Without Eugene Toombs? Okay.
Ooh.
I agree with him, though. Like,
I hear that name, it always gives me the sends the shivers down my spine.
Every character he plays gives me the shivers, like Eugene Toombs or Percy from fucking Green Mile. There was something else that we watched him in recently. I can't remember what the hell it was.
I don't remember.
Listeners, I don't know what we've watched in the last 3 episodes, the last 3 months. It's something there.
And speaking of that, we're going to hit the banner again. Please be sure to check out all of our podcast episodes and 0-Point reviews. We're on YouTube, and our backlog is filling up very nicely as we upload it to YouTube. Or you can find us on your favorite podcatcher.
Podcatchers. Somebody said they hate that name, and I'm kind of like, well, now I love it. That's fantastic. It sounds dirty now.
Hey, we go with what we go with.
We go with what we go with. Oh, goodness. Now, going back to what you'd said about as far as who Maggie takes care of, her mom or her granny, it was both. And fortunately for both, once Mags leaves, Otis sticks around to take care of both granny and mom. He was doing really well for himself that night. I loved Otis. He's one of my favorite characters.
Everybody's a good character in this movie.
Yeah.
And we like to crack jokes, but like honestly, this movie is such a good time. Good characters, good story, good effects, good everything. There's nothing really to rag about on this movie. Is it perfect? No. Did it need to be? No. It comes down to, did the movie tell a story? Yes, it did, and it did it very well. And I always have a great time with that.
Exactly. Were you entertained?
Yeah.
100%.
It's not trying to win Oscars. It's not trying to win any awards. It's trying to have a good time and entertain you.
Yeah.
It's not even a popcorn. I wouldn't even say that this is a popcorn movie. It does make you think if you want it to. If you want yourself to, you will think about the movie. If you want to turn your brain off, you can. This is one of those rare movies. You can view this movie in many different ways every time you rewatch it. One time you might want to be like, I'm going to pay attention to this character or this subtext or this subplot. Or, yeah, I just want to have a couple drinks, eat some popcorn, and just have a good time.
That's pretty much what I did.
All of that.
Yeah, I mean, I took the notes, but it wasn't like how I normally do it, where it's like I sit and stop the movie every 5 seconds, or it's like I just had a great time watching this. Probably the best time watching a movie that we've done in a while, and we've watched some really good stuff lately. And probably my favorite that we've done so far this year.
Yeah, this would be my favorite as well, and I'm enjoying this combo with you. Some might say, hey, you're a little more active during this one. This is my favorite. I am happy to talk about this movie. There's a bunch of movies I can easily get to chatting about once I get started.
There are very few sci-fi movies where I'm kind of like, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
This is one of them. I you know, I'm not the biggest sci-fi person. I'm not the biggest fantasy type person. I like horror. This is not horror remotely. No. It is very much sci-fi, and it is so much fun. This is the kind of sci-fi that I truly enjoy.
Yeah.
It's fun, it's imaginative, and it takes you for a ride. It asks you to go for a ride and then just like yanks you along with it.
Exactly. It's the definition of a science fiction movie, the way I like them. Yeah, I like them sometimes a little more serious. I love my Battlestar Galacticas. I love my Space Above and Beyonds. I love my Farscapes. You know, there's a Babylon 5 Blu-ray set coming out in December. I'll be picking that up. I'll finally be giving that a watch through for the first time, other than watching bits and pieces here and there. Star Trek, Expanse, you know, Dark Matter. I can go down the line. I love my space-based science fiction, and this is the movie that did it for me. This and Battlestar Galactica when I was a kid. And I can't shake that love. I got like some spaceships up on my shelf here. I got some Stargate ships and a Viper from Battlestar Galactica remake. Oh, cool. And I love this shit, dude. You got any more slides for us, or where are we at today?
Oh, I think that might actually be it.
Hey, that's cool.
Oh, the guy that Alex, the guy that Alex stepped on something and just the guy who lost.
Oh, his tentacle.
Yeah, I thought it was a tentacle, but I noticed how much bigger it was than everything else. So I was like, "Oh, is that his?" Oh, no wonder he was so upset. Would make me angry too.
Right up across your forehead. And that's my co-host Kevin, everybody. Always bringing up the naughty bits.
I know. Other than that, no. This is just, it's a great flick. I don't have any more slides. There was not a whole lot to make fun of. there's nothing to really make fun of in this movie. Even if you're like me, the type of person that's like, I hate kids in movies. Like, yes, the movie ends with the loud little kid, but he oh, for the people
I don't always watch his slides, everybody. I like to be surprised.
Practice doesn't always make perfect. Sometimes you just naturally suck.
Hey, such is the life of a video gamer. We're not always good at some of these games, and some of us never get better at some of these games.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Oh, there are certain games where I'm kind of like, story mode, set me up. Okay.
Yep, I just want to play the story. I'm good. If it's a game like Dead Space, bring on impossible mode. You're next, bitch.
Kind of, yes. Or today, trying to pretend to be John Wick with my VR helmet on, listening to the John Wick 4 soundtrack and killing virtual bad guys on Operation Wolf.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there was a lot. It's been a nauseous day today since then.
Well, at least we're ending it with style with the last Starfighter. All right, Kevin. Everybody else, I want to thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. We're getting close to 250, and that's going to be a very important part of our giveaway. If you hit that like button, if you throw a little comment below, and you do subscribe, and we can tell when you have subscribed to our channel, we can see all that. Put a comment below, like this video. Tell us your favorite memory or moment of this movie. You will be entered into our giveaway. And at the end of the month, October 31st, on our Halloween episode, we will pull randomly a name, and we will announce in a separate video who won our last Starfighter giveaway. You will be getting that 4K edition from Arrow. So thank you for tuning in, Screamers. Keep on screaming, because we don't stop till you do. We'll see you next day. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.